another run going here, which is good news. You really wait for a bite here. Okay, now the reason I'm putting it really fast, so I want to get it away from any possible snags out there. And I've got about 80 meters of 50-pound braid before my leader. There we go. We're on that now. Feisty little fish. Don't try and force the fish when it gets close. That's when it's probably going to give its best fight, is right here in front of you. And that's when you can tear the hook. You'll see when it's ready, as soon as the head starts popping out, it's probably the best time to actually net it. Now, even though this is a small fish, it's actually such a nice fight. There's nothing wrong with the fighting capabilities of the fish in this dam. Now what I'm doing, slowly putting the net under it. And as soon as I've got it over the net, I'm just gonna, it's not ready. I'm just gonna lift the net. I'm not gonna try and pick it up with a net. These nets aren't built for that. There we go. Safe and sound. Now, unplug the safety net and you pull it up on the end so it doesn't, the fish doesn't slip out there. I've got the pole right here with me, and I basically just roll it up. And now it's a perfect net to carry your fish in, to get to your unhooking mat so that you can unhook it. Essential that you make sure your unhooking mat's wet. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fetch more water so that we can keep the fish nice and wet. If you close the eyes, you'll see with the net being over the eye of the fish, it calms it down nicely. Now, when I'm going to take it out of the net, it probably won't be so calm. But this is what it's about, is the photo you want to take. What I used in this case is a artificial maze with a tiger. Always use a hook bait out of the feed you're going to feed. So if you're fishing tigers, maize, hemp seed, that should be the bait, the hook bait you use. Okay. Now I'm holding the fish. Get the fish on its stomach. Get your hand underneath, like that. That fin through the fingers there. Back one there. And you basically just lift it forward for the photo. There's still a couple of fish spawning, so it might be from that. Now, if the fish had to wiggle or jump, I could just flip it back into my arms and it won't fall as hard, so it won't get any damage on the intestines. What I want to do is I want to put a bit of the quarter carp here on these saws here. It comes with one bottle for body and one for the actual mouth. Okay, caught me alive for 6 kilos. It's exactly on 6 kilos. And now we can just use the waistling to actually release it. Safe, it's good on the fish. Now it's pretty simple. You just unzip it that side, on the head side, let the water flow nicely. And look at that. Doesn't take long for it to realize it's back in the water and it swims away nicely. Now in specimen angling, there's a couple of techniques you can use to get your bait into the water and present it for bigger carp. One of them is using a spod and a spod rod, which is a little rocket like this, and you fill it with your particles or the bait you're using. You shoot that out to the spot you want to fish, and that's if you don't have a bait boat or you don't have a little rubber dinghy to actually take it out. Now I fed 2 spots, the ones on 100 meters, where you would ideally want to feed a little radius of 4 or 5 meters. Put all the bait there and put your hook baits as close to that as possible so it's lying in between all the feed you've put out. The other spot I fed is right here about 20 meters from the side. We call that margin fishing. I saw a fish surfacing there a couple of times in the last 2 days, and I've started feeding that spot and put a hook bait there. So what I do is I keep on feeding it. Now in some dams it's known that the fish actually get used to that plonk in the water by feeding it with bait balls or a rocket in this case. They get used to it being associated with food. They hear that noise and they go to the spot. So it's also a very, very effective way of catching fish. Okay, now what I'm using today for the feeding is a base mix, which is actually one of the more popular mixes for specimen angling. Is maize, yellow maize, some hemp seed and some tiger nuts. You can add maple peas, you can add jojo beans, you can add sorghum, you can add bird seed, you can add a whole bunch of feed to this. This is ideal in the sense of where there's a lot of catfish or barbel, that you use this. In fact, you take out the maize. If there's a lot of barbel, you'll just use the hemp seed and the tiger nuts. And the closer you get to winter or in winter, the less active the catfish are, the more you can add to your feed. And a dam like this, which is Rietvlei, you can put anything in here because there's absolutely no problem with catfish. Every now and again a catfish might come out on barnacle. It's the third fish of the morning. Doesn't feel very big. You can see the quick way it shakes its head. The bigger the fish, the slower that head shake. You can feel it, and obviously the weight you're pulling. Got a worthy tussler on here. Trying to go around the pointer. The last part about a quick drag, once you get used to it, is its minimal setting, 1 or 2 clicks. You don't have to turn it 2, 3, 4 times. It is, however, something to get used to. Some guys don't really like it because they're not used to it, and they sometimes just over tighten the drag. There is ugly structure here in the water. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but a lot of guys have told me about it. It's actually a pole with an old tie on. So let's hope this fish doesn't go there. The fish is starting to feel a bit better. Much slower, heavier weight, but you only really can tell when we get it close to the side. Very temperamental fish. That's Rietvlei there. This rod was in, I think, 2.5 days. Almost 3 days. Probably another 9 to 10 kilo fish. They're looking better. Let's hope this one touches the 10. They're just growing all the time. Make sure your net, your waist thing, everything that's going to touch the fish is wet, even your hands. You don't want to remove that protective layer of slime. Pretty fish. Like twice this size. Still the safe zone leader I was referring to. Now what happens is when the fish is swimming away from you, this is a nice thick sort of mono base, bit of weighted pieces to keep it nice and down for your presentation. But while the fish is swimming, this can't damage your fish. Can't take any of the scales off. As you can see, this is a lovely, lovely fish. You want to take some photos quickly? Really good condition, this fish. Other fish all had gashes on them. Get it into the waistling. And to the scales we go. Oh, 9.6 kilos. So still in that size class. So let's hope we can get a bigger one on the line. Once it's been in the water for a while, see it's immediately breathing. It lifts itself up onto its belly, and as soon as it realizes it's in the water again, it will just swim away. Amazing creatures. It barely moved, was already moving forward and on its stomach, and there it swims away.